This is Rebel Radio.
Good morning, Soho. Good morning, Rebels, and good morning to all our wonderful listeners all over the world, wherever you are. Welcome to Rebel Radio with me, Marijn, and we have a special show today. This is an XR Muslims special, where we are going to be talking to some wonderful people from XR Muslims, but also a wonderful project based out in northern Uganda. Just to let you know that this was a bit of an experiment in that Mustafa in Uganda didn't have very good internet connection, so we've recorded everything via WhatsApp voice notes. So it was a bit of an experience, but I believe it worked. I am so excited about that because it means that lots of people who I would love to interview and get on the radio so that I can amplify their message and share with you, the dear listeners, the wonderful work they're doing. I always thought that was going to be impossible because of the poor internet quality, but now we can do it like this. So it means that I'm going to have access to loads more people in remote parts of the world. So let's have a listen.
This is Rebel Radio.
So we are now going to be talking to Mustafa and Asha. So it feels very strange doing it this way, remotely. Asha, let me ask you a few questions first, because it's through XR Muslims that I found out about this amazing project and about Mustafa's work. So let's find out a little bit more first about XR Muslims. What is it? Who are they? And how did it come about?
Hi, good morning. So nice to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity. Alhamdulillah. XR Muslims began in September of 2019 as part of different religious voices coming together in a spirit of unity on Lambeth Bridge in London. And their one demand was that our leaders address the needs of our planet, the health of our planet, first and foremost. And thereafter, we've invited anyone who identifies as Muslim or is sympathetic to the Islamic viewpoint to join us, in a spirit of plurality, inclusivity, to combine the ecological heart of Islam with demanding climate justice for our fellow citizens across the world now. So that's how XR Muslims began.
That's such a wonderful initiative, and what a sort of magical image that brings up of this movement coming together on a bridge during rebellion. And I absolutely love that. Sounds so wonderful. So as XR Muslims, what sort of things do you guys get up to? Do you kind of have your own actions or your own sort of activities? How does it work?
We're very much an organic organization, so we will respond to campaigns and initiatives when and as they're needed. The way the Shea Tree campaign was brought to our attention was by the most wonderful rebel called Fazila, who's based in Kenya. She was based in Kenya, and then she's been in London for 2 years. And the whole East African scene is like, her backyard, mashallah. And she said to us, people, colleagues, listen, I want to introduce Mustafa Gerima to you. He's from northern Uganda, and he has worked tirelessly to save this very special tree species called the Shea tree from deforestation and even from the possibility of extinction. Now, one reason why we kind of really got our act together quickly was because International Shea Tree Day was July 16th, so we wanted just this July gone. So we wanted to begin our fundraising activities in commemoration of that day. So in my hometown, we had a picnic. We started to sort of amplify Mustafa's work on Twitter, with our fellow XR branches, on Instagram, on Facebook, and so fortunate that this interview is part of that amplification, alhamdulillah. And in the past, we've done physical actions together when we've come together in Parliament Square for September Rebellion. We've attended talks in Leicester, we had the most wonderful Indigenous Emergency Day last August when I spoke up for tree defenders and tree protectors, and then Fazila gave a really moving account of her experience of rangers and their critical work in Nairobi National Park. So that's a little flavour of the kinds of things we get up to. The other thing that we're trying to do at Excel Muslims is to raise the profile of those who don't enjoy the privileges that we have. One thing that I discovered was the amazing amount of work done by Indonesian ecologists and clerics, Muslim clerics, in respect of taking care of the environment when I first joined Excel Muslims. And it made me realize that it's really important to bear in mind that we in the West we don't bring the gift of conservation and stewardship to other parts of the world. I mean, people in the global South and in communities that I call far-flung, obviously they're at the center of their world, they're already doing that courageous, critical work, putting, their energy where and when they can, often at great personal risk, to protect our environment. Here in the UK, a couple of campaigns that we've initiated, and hopefully our friends in Canada, in Kenya, in Australia, in Indonesia, in India can adopt these campaigns. One of them was recently a plant-based Ramadan, where we took the kind of centrality of meat in the diet and questioned it. Do we need meat? Do we need that much meat to be happy? Do we need any meat to live perfectly healthy, vital lives? So the plant-based Ramadan, we kind of invited anyone who wants to share in a plant-based recipe for us to post on our 30 days of Ramadan, 30 different recipes. And we accompanied that with a plant-based quiz that people could undertake and have fun and get some information on what really does happen when you eat that much meat to our planet. Second initiative where we're trying to change the way people speak and think is Greening the Mosques campaign, where we encourage, to begin with, children, but people of any age really, to write to their imams, their local mosque clerics, the staff at the community centres near them, to think about how we can make the mosques greener, how we can kind of take practical steps to be greener in our own lives, so lifestyle changes, but more importantly, to advocate for system change, so that we encourage imams to speak to their congregations about climate change. What's the origin? How have human activities accelerated it, and how can human actions begin the process of mitigating it? What can we do to sort of demand that change from governments and from corporations, and to sort of feel empowered to ask for those changes? So not just lifestyle changes, but system changes, that because we'll need both to move into a healthier future.
Okay, amazing. That sounds really great. And for those people listening who are like, yeah, I want to get involved with XR, but I'm not quite sure where. Like, where is my place? It's so huge. If this sounds like this could be your community, your place, then do check them out. They're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, XR Muslims, and get in touch with those guys so you can get involved. So I think it's time to turn to Mustafa. Mustafa, before we talk about your Shea tree conservation activism and everything, let's find out a little bit about you first. What were you doing before all this started, and how did you journey from being a biology teacher to becoming an activist, really, to protect these trees? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I am really excited, Marijn and the rest of the team, Shea and Alessandra. First of all, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone in the UK, and good afternoon here in Uganda. I know it's already good afternoon in Uganda. That has been a very, very, very warm introduction. My name is Mustafa Yuma Gerima. I'm the last born of my parents, who are the last born out of 6 children, 3 females and 3 males. And World War veteran who fought alongside the British Army up to Myanmar. By then it was called Burma. Yes, I am, as you have rightly said, a biology teacher, and maybe I could talk a little bit about my school journey. Yes, in 1979, we were forced to run into exile following the ouster of the then president of Uganda, that is Idi Amin Dada, who happens to come from my home area. And so there was no way we could remain around, and we got ourselves into Zaire, by then called Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo. While there, I saw completely two different environments. Congo has an untamed natural environment, I mean, not yet really spoiled. And Uganda, by then, we had already started tampering with our natural beauty, though Uganda has been called by the former Prime Minister of England, Churchill, Winston, that it is Pearl of Africa. Indeed, Uganda used to be a Pearl of Africa, but today we are talking something different from what the Prime Minister had actually seen. So in Congo, I became more interested and, of course, nearer to nature. And so we could finish the whole of our day in the jungle, grazing our cattle and eating the wild fruits. And all our livelihood was actually from the forest. So in 1983 is when we had to come back to Uganda. And having seen this, I said, I think I'm now of age and I need to get to school. And quickly I joined school. So while in school, my best subject or subject of interest was what we used to call nature study. I think today it's called science. In our Ugandan elementary level, it used to be called nature study. So I picked interest in nature study, and as I advanced with my studies, science became my most favorite subject. And in my secondary school, I had to study science. And my target was to study forestry at the university, but because of financial constraints, I couldn't make it to the university to study my preferred or my favorite faculty. So my maternal uncle had to opt for me to go for teacher training, having seen that during my vacation I made a very good work in teaching, as I was teaching at the Sudanese refugee settlement. So from there I was now advised to go and become full-time a teacher. So I had to go to a teacher training college to study, and my main subject was biology besides chemistry. And so yeah, I became a biology teacher in 1998. That's when I completed my 2 years course. And all along, I have now been teaching biology in various places. Right from my home district, I had to go and move all around Uganda. Later on, I ended up in Tanzania, and that's when I lived the rest of my life. Up to 2016, that's when I came back to Uganda. And so, yeah, it is coming back to Uganda that I saw a very, very drastic change in our environment. Because before I left Uganda, it was still okay. Now, completely different from what I came back to see. When I came back to Uganda in 2016, it was because I had some sickness, and so I was admitted in a hospital called Lacho Hospital that is found in northern Uganda in the city of Gulu. And I remember Gulu is where the Lord's Resistance Army did a lot of havoc. And so this is a place that actually had seen the bad hand of wars. So when I was in the hospital, I saw very many people really scrambling over the few tree sheds there. And I said, hey, So it is in the hospital that people really know the benefit of trees, but out of the hospital, they do wanton destruction of these trees. I mean, they cut the trees indiscriminately. So I said to myself, when I get out of this hospital, inshallah, I will have to leave my classroom teaching and go out into the community and begin teaching people about the importance of tree in general. So when I was recuperating from home, so I had to meditate on my hospital dream, and later on I just said I'm not going back to school to teach. So I started environmental platform, and I was now trying to see what kind of name I can give it to this, because I want to talk to the whole nation. Then quickly something came to my mind that the highest point of Uganda is the Rwenzori mountain. So it's better if I had to stand on top of the mountain and talk to the whole nation. So I called my environmental platform as the Rwenzori Mountains Initiative. And it is from the Rwenzori Mountains Initiative that I had the 4 thematic areas, one of which was the conservation and restoration of endangered species. So Shea being one of the endangered species, and it has been our pride, especially in northern Uganda and in West Nile in particular. West Nile, remember, is the region where I come from, and it is the region that is west of Nile. That's the only place in Uganda that still has an English name. So in West Nile, the shea nut was our pride, and especially to students in boarding schools, the shea butter would be our main appetizer and our source of pride as students. So coming back home to see that this species is really, really, really getting out from our site. I mean, it is being heavily destroyed. So I said, I think, who else apart from me can talk about this? I mean, who else can talk about this if not me? Because I've seen so many people just see this thing going down and no one is talking about it. And how I came up with this is when I was traveling from the Rwenzori Mountains, I was coming home to West Nile to attend a wedding ceremony, nikah, of my niece. A niece whom I brought up myself. This is the daughter of my elder brother, but this is a daughter I brought up myself. So when this girl was getting married, so my brother said, no, I should be the one to give her off, of course, as in line with the Islamic rules. So I was supposed to be the one to give her out. And so when I came, I saw a number of white sacks along the way as I was now entering my West Nile region. So I tried to ask people, what are these, white sacks containing? Then some fellow travelers in the bus told me these are sacks containing charcoal, and this is charcoal, superior charcoal, which is burnt or manufactured from the shea tree. I said, oh God, this is unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit down really to see this, and I am ready to do whatever it takes for my life to do this. So the only thing, our people, when you want to alarm them, we used to have our yelling or beating the drum. So I said, I'm going to yell, but my yelling is going to be in a different way. I am going to yell from the Parliament of Uganda, begin walking from there while yelling up to West Nile in my home area, my home region, where I will need to talk to my people to listen really to me and see how I have suffered walking, because walking from Kampala up to Arua is not an easy feat at all. It's not an easy feat at all. And nobody had ever ventured to walk that apart from the remnants of Idi Amin soldiers who are trying to find their way out home now, but they will walk in beats and rates. But my walk was continuously. So that is how I actually came to find what we now call Save the Shea Nut movement.
I'm just in awe of your journey, and I cannot believe you walked all that way. What an amazing story. Let's continue this conversation in a moment. First, let's listen to one of the songs that you requested. This is from Ugandan artists, and you had a conversation with the people you work with, and they asked if you could please play Free Boy and Winnie Nwagi Kwata Esimu. So here we go.
Free fire, baby. Mukwana was searching. Omutima guno magufa mukwano sitabuhatingi. Boy, wonder why you stop me looking good. Boy, it is me, boy. You were wanting me. I like your hips and the figure, man, not it. Oh, really? Got it about mukwano. You were laughing. Sorry. My money I was spending it. Bukulira with chips and a shisha mukwano. You were eating it. Don't you know I am dying it. You and me, we are fitting it. Hello, baby. One of them says I'm a child. Zagambalo. Hello, baby. Mwana kwate simu. Kusaba kwate simu. Olwalero tebuche. Empale biraka. Ndiguza malala. Oronogoberera. Ogezanga nondeka. Sisobola kukuleka. Wandyake byange nondeka wanongande mputa. Baby wandyake byange nondeka wanongande mputa. She told me she don't love me cause I'm loco. With a man like me tell you look fimbo. And I cannot believe it, boy. Vamos a foto. Wanda kana kutamira. Mama get kwa tonto. Hello, baby. One of them says I'm a child. Zagambalo. Hello, baby. Mwana kwate simu. Kusaba kwate simu. Ongamba iwe ya sachingi. No mutima kukuloma kufama kwano sitopulayengi. There no call about stop the looking. Because it is you, girl, I am wanting it. You say I don't want no. I don't want a man like you. No man like you. You say I need a man with a Range Rover. Yes, I need a man who can come over, who gives the love and take over, yeah. Mutima gunawa, darling, wako batsogola. Hello, baby. Mwana tonze za mchalo. Zagambalo. Hello, baby. Mwana kwate simu. Kusaba kwate simu. Hello, baby. Hello, darling.
Swings Avenue. This is Rebel Radio.
What an incredible journey, Mustafa. Thank you so much for sharing your story with me and with our listeners. Wow, it's what a life. I hope you're thinking about writing your memoirs or something, because this is a story worth telling. And it's so interesting because I know Gulu quite well. I mean, I haven't been there for many years now, but I did a lot of work. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, I still is still debating, but we did a lot of campaigning about the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army, and so yeah, this all sounds so familiar, and I can't help but thinking about the beautiful sceneries and the beautiful nature in northern Uganda, but yes, also the struggles there, and you explaining to us obviously the location of where this is happening, where the Shea nut trees are being chopped down. It sort of makes a lot more sense now, because obviously there are lots of issues in the north that, you know, controversially, President Museveni it has been said to heavily neglect the north of Uganda. Let's not go into a political discussion now, because I want to know more about the project. But just to give a bit of context, people cutting down trees may sort of to the Western eye seem like, you know, you don't do that, Although having said that, in the UK, for example, they're more than happy to chop down trees that are several hundred years old. So that's kind of questionable as well. But a massive obstacle for you must be these people aren't sort of big corporations like we see in the UK or elsewhere, you know, big logging companies or big companies who are chopping down trees and have loads of profit. I mean, these are artisanal sellers of charcoal. These are people who obviously are, well, financially probably not doing great. So they are probably trying to just get by. So how would you, how do you speak to people to say, yeah, I know this is your source of income, but you need to stop that now? Is there a way that you can help them find other methods of income, or how does it work? Or maybe they don't need the income from chopping down the trees. Maybe I've totally misinterpreted that. But it would be great to understand a little bit about who are the people cutting down the trees, and how can you help them to stop doing that?
Thank you very much, Marijn, for that wonderful comments there. I am really excited now, and I think I will appreciate very much you help me with my memoirs. And it's good that you know northern Uganda very well. Thanks really very much for appreciating my journey. And it's good that you are the right person to host me, because you exactly know the places I talk about. The nexus between the decade-long war that ravaged the northern Uganda region and the West Nile, and this war rendered the people unproductive in terms of economic context. The people found themselves without anything to lay their hands on, and so the quickest thing was to look near their home states or home area, and here they saw the trees to be the immediate source of income, and this income is through cutting the trees to produce charcoal that is then sold to the urban areas. So the urban dwellers, on seeing that there is money in charcoal, then started pouring into the villages in northern Uganda to do the charcoal burning themselves, and this led to massive cutting down of the trees, and that is why there is this wanton destruction. There are also big, as you have rightly described, there are big people, big wigs, as we will call them, behind this charcoal business. I wouldn't really say they are corporations, but of course, rumors say they are also corporations, and that's another homework for me to do. Yeah, there are now people who invest in this charcoal business because it has become a commercial aspect. As I said earlier, the charcoal business started with the locals cutting this tree just for their survival. And you remember, it was not only the Congo War, there was also West Nile bank front in West Nile. And the whole of Greater North was affected by these wars. And yeah, as you have rightly said, I think the president had to make sure that there was peace before any kind of productivity will be brought in. The relationship or the nexus between the cutting of the tree and the people's livelihoods. Basically, yes, these trees are being cut because our people in northern Uganda are economically too low as compared to the rest of the country, and of course there are so many reasons as we have alluded to before, and yes, the war having had a bigger hand in this. So when these people cut the trees and the big guys from the urban dwellers saw that this is a lucrative business, they started now bringing in money instead of the locals cutting the trees. Now these people from the urban centers will now come and buy off these local leaders, the cultural leaders at the local level. Then they buy this chunk of land, claiming that they are going to do some farming, and yet they begin cutting these trees indiscriminately. And so when they were going about with their charcoal burning, they later discovered that the specific shea nut tree gives a very superior charcoal, and all their eyes now turn to the shea tree, a chunk of land that has quite a good number of the shea trees, and then you will produce very good quality charcoal, and that means you have better yield, pay for your efforts put there. So yeah, so they started doing this business, and later on this charcoal found its way now in the neighboring countries. Of course, Uganda is bordered by South Sudan in the north, which is in a war, and automatically doesn't need anything to deal with that. So the quicker, the most peaceful country they found could easily go with their business was Kenya. And this was not just because Kenya is peaceful. It is because the Kenyan government had banned banning of charcoal or commercial trade in charcoal. So this charcoal is now ferried from Uganda to Kenya illegally, actually, what we used to call in the East African language as magendo. That's a Swahili word. So yes, the charcoal from here also finds its way into Kenya, and that is through the illegal routes. And so yeah, that is a very big challenge. But now talking about how to go about helping these people. Yes, when I started my advocacy in 2019 by that long walk from the Ugandan capital Kampala up to my home city, that is Arua, I had written 8 points, and the points were, as I actually shared with the rest of the colleagues here, and for the benefit of the listeners, I'm going to enumerate them. One of which was the walk. That walk, I call it a curtain raiser. Then after the walk, I had to meet 3 categories of people. I had to meet the cultural leaders, I had to meet the religious leaders, and I had to meet the government authorities and talk to them why this thing is going, and maybe possibly we find a way. That was one, and I think I did that immediately after my walk. I had a whole tour of West Nile region that has 12 districts by then in 2019. So I moved all these districts to talk to those categories of people. Then I had to make sure that the area that used to have the highest level, highest concentration of shea nuts, that is now being properly depleted. That is in the present day district of Madiokolo. I also talked to them. And yeah, so basically after that, I said now, a point of starting this movement to rescuing or saving these species from extinction, because I from my biology point of view, we had some animals, living things, and called the dinosaurs that later on got extinct. So this word extinction in biology is ever there, and it is something that worried me, because why should we have something that is really dear to our lives get extinct? So that's how I did it. So basically I said, now after this I'm going to start my own shea forestry, and that's by raising seedlings for that, acquiring some land. In fact, that is the main reason why I had had to go to the United Nations Environment Program Office in Nairobi, because I wanted them to know that I personally, as Mustafa, cannot raise this amount of money to buy 7,000 hectares of land to reforest or to restore this lost species. But of course, raising the seedlings, I can do it because it is easier for me. So I will need to have around 7,000 hectares of land acquired under my authority so that we can plant these species. And even if the ones in the wild do not get that chance of being protected, and eventually, God forbid, they get extinct, I will still have one where the science students and science lovers and nature lovers will refer to, oh, there is still one Shea species. Initially, I called it a refugium, for that matter, for those who refer to science and what. I called it a refugium, but later on, I've added another term called arboretum. Then another thing was to find alternative sources of this. This one now goes directly to your question of how were you talking to these destroyers. Yes, my initial thinking was this tree is cut basically for charcoal, and charcoal is a source of energy for cooking. So why can't the government get alternative sources of energy? That's also something I wanted us to discuss. And of course, now the bigger problem here is how to get these charcoal business people or the dealers out of this business. That is by offering them an alternative source of livelihood, because business is their livelihood. If we could say, look, you are continuing to cut trees to burn charcoal, and at a certain point in time, these trees will get over and your business will also stop. So why don't you have to find something that is sustainable? So that has been my thought of this. And indeed, I have been moving around talking to people in the villages, but I started talking with the local community on whose land these trees are found. And of course, talking to the charcoal burners is not an easy thing, but we have been trying it together with my fellow environmental crusaders in northern Uganda. I remember 3 months ago, I was called for a meeting in Gulu, and this is an environmental platform called Our Trees We Need Answers. Their name is Our Trees We Need Answers. They called me together with the friends of Zoka. We had to sit in a solidarity meeting and put one voice together that, please, we are now concerned of the situation of the Shea nut going down every other day, because there are people who come from other parts of our own region to cut these trees and sell them in charcoal. So this is how I have been going about it. But of course, for the benefit of the listeners and the other people who are interested in this, I still have the 8-point agenda, or 7, I think they are now 7. You can read that. And of course, quickly, the other one is raising the seedlings and then acquiring this land to plant them, then maybe convincing people who have money to establish mega factories that are going to process the Shea. And so once the kernels are bought or the nuts are bought, then people in the local area will know that, oh, this tree is very important. Me, I'm not going to allow the tree to be cut for charcoal, but I'll rather protect it so that I will sell the nuts and get a lot of money. So I have started it, and I'm very happy that there are people who are already responding to me. Of course, they have started buying processing machines, but we still need more. And of course, our main challenge here is the source of power, especially West Nile, that doesn't have hydroelectric power generation that is reliable. And so these are the issues which are, I think, if our policymakers or politicians who hold the mandate to talk about this can raise them in the National Assembly or in our parliaments. And district local governments also have their ordinances or bylaws to enforce, so that we really have proper industries established. So once we have power, so we are going to have these mega industries established, though they have started putting processing plants that still use generators, and it's not very good. It's not really very good running these kind of things on generators. Yeah, that is one way I have really tried through my advocacy to get people to see this point, that if we have to use the nuts instead of the tree stands, then we're going to have it sustainably. We're going to have it sustainable in that. So that is the other point. Then, of course, I wanted this thing to become now the students' result. I mean, there are people who want to do research on this. You'll remember that the shea nut tree species is an exclusive species of the African continent, and in Africa it is found in 21 countries, and that's what we call the shea belt. And in Uganda particularly, it is only found in northern Uganda, and it is not found in any other part of the country apart from the Greater North. The Greater North stretches all the way from West Nile, if you can go refer to your map. It stretches from West Nile and then Acholi, Lango, Teso, up to the lower belts of Mount Elgon, then the whole of Karamoja area. And lastly, maybe of course, the shea tree being an exclusive species, not for the whole world, could also become a source of tourism, because some people in other parts, for example, here in the UK, where you don't have the shea tree, you will need to come down and see. You want to see physically how this tree looks like. So automatically, once we have the 7,000 hectares of land restored properly with this, then it will become a source of tourism. And that has been my thought.
Assalamu alaikum, Mustafa. Thank you for your very comprehensive answer. I found it very moving that you're thinking about how the people trading in charcoal now, where next they can go, how they can adapt to different ways of earning a living, and really like the long-term thinking you're putting into this. My question for you is, should we in the West, I consider myself to live in the West, being from the Midlands in the UK, be buying less charcoal? Should we have fewer barbecues? That's my sort of rather blunt question for you.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Asia. Thank you very much for that good question. It's really, really becoming very, very interesting. Yes, the people trading in charcoal. Yes, as I started earlier, I think there is a reason why they are trading in charcoal. I'm not sure, Sister Asia, if you people in the UK buy the charcoal made in Uganda here, but in any case you're doing there, I'll really and honestly and sincerely say, please stop buying charcoal from Uganda and from the shea belt. But I'm not quite sure really if this charcoal is ferried up to UK. And as I was delivering my point earlier on, I think I didn't mention UK apart from Kenya. And Kenya is a country I love so much, and I'm not offending any Kenyan now, because I know my sister Fazila is going to say, oh, why Mustafa, are you talking about Kenya? Yeah, but that's the fact on the ground. And when I walked from Kampala to Nairobi, some people were asking, we don't have shea trees in Kenya. Why are you walking to Kenya? Indirectly, that was one way of taking the message to the Kenyan people that please, there's somebody who's now crying for his or their trees. So please, can you try to check or cross-check your use of charcoal? Yeah, basically, your question is good. You in the UK mostly use the charcoal for barbecues and the rest. I don't think you use charcoal for cooking and other activities that demand a lot of charcoal. In Africa and in Uganda and East Africa in particular, we depend much on charcoal, and this is because our systems, I will call them now, not governments really, let me call them systems. Our systems have not put that high priority of ensuring that cheap power is supplied to each and every citizen, and that could only be the thing for us to solve some of these problems of trees getting cut for charcoal. Of course, here we would have talked about the tree logging as Marijn had started introducing it, but my main concern is the charcoal business that is really causing a lot of devastation to the shea tree. And so You not buying charcoal in the UK, really, I can't really say much about that. But of course, I will not even say we completely do away with charcoal here in Africa, because when I was in Nairobi at the UN, I was also hosted by the World Agroforest Center, that is in short called ICRAF. And there's this lady, this doctor from Zambia, who gave me a book that really talks much about sustainable charcoal business, whereby some kind of quick maturing tree species will be identified, and people who really want to go with charcoal business will be maybe financed or funded to grow these trees. And once these trees are ready, they are free to cut their trees for charcoal business. Here, our main concern is these natural trees, these trees the Almighty Allah or God gave us for our common good. So I think that is where my main concern is.
Jazakallah khair. I really liked your direction to check and cross-check where the things you're using are coming from. So I suppose my next question is connected. I'm not a charcoal user, but I am a shea butter user because it's in a lot of the moisturizers that I've been using. Does the same go for that? Should I buy products with less shea butter so that the indigenous users of shea butter will have more for their own uses?
Thank you so much, Sister Asia. I'm really excited to hear such good questions coming from you. Now, your question of should you buy products with less shea butter so that the indigenous users of shea butter will have moved on? I will say, on the contrary, what you must do is not only you, but the rest of your colleagues and the community at large, you should encourage them to use much shea butter in your daily lives, such that there is available market created for the indigenous shea gatherers who are actually grappling with the nuts right now because there are no markets for these nuts. By the way, it has to be remembered that these trees, the people prefer to cut the trees for charcoal than use the nuts because they don't see readily available markets here. So if Sister Asia and the whole team in the UK, I mean the whole Western world will buy products of shea nuts, automatically the people here in northern Uganda will know that, oh, there is a ready market and a very good profit-making business is there in the UK. Then, of course, that will automatically translate into conservation of this tree. So in simple terms, what I will need to say is, please step up your use of the shea butter products so that there is enough market created for this. As I talk now, actually, of late, I've become the face of the shea world, and so many shea processors are even calling me to look for markets for their products. And to me, though I'm not doing business, that is a very good thing because their business will translate into my advocacy programs, and that will directly translate into conserving these trees. So the more the markets are, the better the shea nuts will be bought from the local people, and the more these trees will be saved.
Thank you so much, Mustafa. And I think also on a practical level, that's cleared up a lot of just practicalities that I didn't know about the shea butter process. So, you don't damage the tree in any way by harvesting the nuts, which then provide the oil and the butter. So that's really good to know that actually that can be done in the right way, obviously, a very sustainable way of creating a product that's very, very popular all over the world. Of course, you with your biology background and all your experience are probably already thinking about this, that we ensure that forests remain diverse, that we don't end up just with acres and acres of shea trees, but that we need the diversity as well. And it just sounds like
You've got such good ideas, and I hope that one day, inshallah, I can come and visit, because I love Uganda, and I'm so excited about all the work you're doing, and just thank you on behalf of everyone for working so hard. And it's also very encouraging to hear that there are lots of other people in Uganda who are working hard on this. It's very exciting to hear about our trees, we need answers, and lots of other initiatives. So having said that, when people are going to hear this interview and they're going to be like, oh my God, I need to find out more. How do I get involved? How can I help? So what are some ways for people to stay up to date with the project? How can they get in touch? And of course, how can they help by maybe donating? What are some of the sites and social media that you can point people towards?
Many thanks indeed, Marijn, and I'm really happy that you have talked it all and you have done it spot on. Inshallah, karibu sana, karibu kwetu Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I'm very, very much humbled by your compliments here. Concerning your last question, Sister Asia is going to respond to that, because right now she knows about what I do, and of course she's going to be in a better position to answer that. But before she comes in, I will also put it to my listeners that when you go on Facebook, you type Mustafa Gerima, you'll always get my page there, and also you type Save the Shea Nut Movement. You also have a page there that always talks about the two advocates. Mustafa Gerima is my personal page, but I always, most of my life has now become about the Shea. So you're not going to find anything about showcasing Mustafa Gerima or talking about himself in particular, but you will always find articles about the Shea Nut, and if anything touches Mustafa, that is linked to the Shea Nut.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair, Mustafa. I just wanted to let listeners know that in 2019, Mustafa walked to the Ugandan parliament. Took him 520 kilometers. That's the distance. The following year, he walked from Kampala in Uganda to the United Nations Environmental Programme in Nairobi. Over 600 kilometers of walking. So he's a heroic champion for this incredibly important cause, and I'm really thrilled to think that we're securing a species for future generations with this project that he's instigated. If you want to find out more, if you want to find out where to donate, there is a GoFundMe page, and you can find the links on XR Muslims Instagram. Look for Shea Tree July, XR Muslims Twitter, and Facebook. Please come and find us, donate, follow what Mustafa's doing. There's also a YouTube video of his walking, and thanks for Mustafa. That does remind me to put the link for that video in all three of our sites, the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebook. What a pleasure it's been. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marijn. Thank you so much, Mustafa. Jazakallah khair. Love this.
Thank you indeed, my sister Asia, for that wonderful work you have done on my behalf. And it's really good, and it's been very, very exciting to be together with you on this radio program. Yes, just like you started in the introduction part, as we started the show, you had mentioned how I got connected with the XR Muslims, and and you mentioned Fazila, and I must say, in a humble way, I'm really very grateful to Fazila Mubarak for having introduced me to this group, and for having walked me to reach up to where we are now. You have to remember that Fazila is my Facebook friend and a very ardent follower of my pages, and it's from that Fazila became very much tasked with what I'm doing. And on Eid al-Fitr Day, she had to call me live from UK. And when she called, I was just having my Eid prayers, so I had to call her back later. And since then, we have ever been in touch with Fazila, and Fazila is a very pivotal personality in the extra Muslims. And so I'm really, really grateful to Fazila and her family and the group. Asia, you have not only been a person in my life, but I think you have taken it a step further, and I pray that Almighty Allah gives you all the life you have to, so that we still can continue with this. I also need to take this chance to thank my family for having made me to have such times for having this noble cause followed up. And in particular, I need to thank my children for having allowed me to do this, for being away from them. And not only that, I must not really forget my wonderful people of West Nile, without whose support I wouldn't have reached where I am. And I am actually dedicating today's talk show purely for the people of West Nile and Northern Uganda per se, because we are not just talking about the Shea issue, we are talking about the connection of the Shea destruction vis-a-vis our poverty level. And it is my hope that through this talk show, the global world will need to know that we have problems here that tend to touch us, and together they can come in to help us through our government of Uganda. And not only the people of West Nile, I also have to register my sincere appreciation to all those who started supporting me in one way or another, until I came up with a WhatsApp platform group, which is now not just a group but a working team called Save the Shea Movement. I have over 100 members on this group, including the Minister of Environment of Uganda, the Speaker of the National Assembly of Uganda, the current Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda, who was formerly the Speaker of Parliament, and other dignitaries in environment and related issues. Thank you very much, Marijn, for having hosted me. It's been a very, very interesting day. It's my pleasure to be on this show today, and I'm really hoping to appear on another show, inshallah, next time. Thank you. Bye for now.
No, it's been my absolute pleasure having both of you on the show. And thank you so much again for being my guinea pigs. We have recorded all of this via WhatsApp voice notes, which is just incredible. So Mustafa being in Uganda, me being in the Netherlands, and Asia being in the UK. And it seems to have worked. So this is really exciting. Yes, and thanks, Asia, for again highlighting the incredible lengths that Mustafa has walked. I mean, I've taken the bus from Kampala to Gulu many times, and also the bus from Kampala to Nairobi many times, and it's a very long bus journey. So to walk it is just, I mean, it's insane. So yeah, thanks for sort of bringing that to our attention again, because yes, indeed, that is an incredible, incredible thing. And Mustafa, how exciting that you have a minister in your group. I mean, that's amazing. You are much further than we are. We're still trying to get politicians on our side. So maybe you can teach us diplomatic skills. So anyway, thank you so much. Good luck with the project. Do stay in touch. And yes, definitely come back onto the show and let's talk some more. And for now, have a lovely day. Thank you both so much for bearing with us. Just for the listeners, this has taken a long time to record, but I am ever so grateful. I think it's such an important message. And yeah, thank you very much. And let's speak soon.
This is Rebel Radio. The time is now.
We are coming up to midday here at Rebel Radio. Thank you so much, as ever, to Soho Radio for giving us the platform to be able to amplify these amazing people like Mustafa, and amazing initiatives as well, like XR Muslims as well. Oh yes, I was meant to say there is a website for XR Muslims. It is xrmuslims.wordpress.com, and this is a great place to go to if you want to find out more about the Shea tree butter, the Shea tree campaign, but also they have lots of resources and information on actions and workshops, so do go and check them out as well. Meanwhile, if you want to get in touch with Rebel Radio, you can tweet at us XR_Rebel Radio, or you can find us on Facebook, Rebel Radio Extinction Rebellion, or of course just email us on xrrebelradio@gmail.com. You'll hear from me again on Tuesday with a new Sounds of the Rebellion show. But for now, have a lovely weekend, everyone. Look after yourselves. These are strange times with Siberia on fire yet again, and it's scary, scary, scary. Have we reached the tipping points that we have been talking about for the past 3 years now, and many of us have been talking about for much, much longer? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Yeah, just look after yourself, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and goodbye.
Rebel Radio is broadcasting live from Soho Radio, London, expanding the cultural conversation around the climate and ecological crisis. Stay tuned for change.